Hi everyone, my name is Olivia. Welcome to this short video where we're looking at some of the fundamentals of the Astanga practice. If you're enjoying my videos breaking down some of the Astanga bits and pieces of the practice and the moves, then hopefully this video will help you in your practice to improve it a little bit and to start to concentrate your focus. Because today I am going to talk about the Tristana method, which is a real fundamental of the whole practice of Astanga. Tristana, the tree at the start, means it's three, so it is the three basic foundational points of practicing Ashtanga yoga. And the Tristana consists of the breath, which is Ujjayi breathing normally. I'm going to talk in more detail about that in a later video. The bandhas, which are the energy locks, which I'll talk about in a bit more detail here, and the drishti, which is your focus point, which we'll touch on a little bit here as well. So these three things are the most important things in your Ashtanga practice, more so even than getting into the posture, doing the posture perfectly. You can be great at doing the postures, but if you're not using the breath and using your bandhas and your drishti to help you come inwards, to help you turn your practice into a moving meditation, then it's just exercise. It's not really practicing yoga. So if you can start to focus on the breath and the bandhas and the drishti, then that will take your Ashtanga practice to a different kind of level. So let's have a little look at what I'm talking about. So yes, I'll just touch on the breath a little bit. So maybe Ujjayi breathing is a bit difficult for you. You can look at my other video on Ujjayi breathing if you want to find out a bit more about that. So you don't have to Ujjayi breathe, but what you really want to make sure you are doing when you practice your Ashtanga is to ensure that you are focusing on the breath and that you are breathing nice and steadily as much as you can. Obviously it gets difficult at times. Ashtanga can be quite full on and the breath can get a bit ragged, but the point is that you bring the focus back to the breath all the time. There are lots of opportunities to do this in the Ashtanga practice. We stop in downward facing dog in the sun salutations for 5 breaths in every sun salutation. That's a really good opportunity to bring the focus back to the breath, back to the bandhas, back to your focus point, your drishti. And we stop for 5 breaths in all of the standing and seated postures. Again, so there's plenty of time to actually harness your breath and keep it under control, bring it back under control. Generally speaking, when we're practicing, I think, any yoga style, the general rule of thumb is that you breathe in as you move forwards and up, and you breathe out as you move backwards and down. And this is what we aim to do in the Ashtanga practice. We aim to make movement flow with breath. So as we move up, inhale, move down, exhale. Now, a lot of the time, this is a lot easier said than done, and sometimes you need to put in extra breaths, and that's great, that's absolutely fine. The one thing that you really don't want to do is hold the breath. You really want to keep breathing, so quite often you'll find that your breathing doesn't chime with the teacher's instructions. That's okay, don't hold your breath to make your breath meet what the teacher is telling you. Keep breathing. Keep breathing, just try to make it so that when you are moving up and forwards, you're breathing in, when you're moving back and down, you're breathing out. So you can always put extra breaths in. So the bandhas are energy locks, and the main ones, the 2 ones that we really use in Ashtanga are Mula Bandha, which is your root lock, and Uddiyana Bandha, which is your upward flying lock. So Mula Bandha is basically an engagement of the pelvic floor muscles and the sphincter. And this stops your energy dropping down, stops you losing your energy through the body into the floor. It keeps the energy engaged and in the torso. And it can actually really help you to gain lightness and lift as you start working through your practice. You will find, and it might sound a little bit weird, but you will find that as you engage your bandha, engage your Mula Bandha, just think of that sort of, engaging with the pelvic floor muscles, you start to get a little lift through the pelvis straight away, even just thinking about it. It starts to lift you and it starts to bring the energy in. And Uddiyana Bandha is your upward flying lock. Great name. And this is an engagement of the deep abdominal muscles. And it's very gentle. It's not like a real clenching and gripping of all these muscles. It's more of a very gentle engagement. It's energetic. It's more about the energy, harnessing the energy that's inside your core and bringing it up. So if you think of it as kind of like, it's been described to me by one of my teachers as like an upside down tornado. So if you think of the energy swirling down at the base of your spine and your Mula Bandha, and you want to keep that energy swirling, and you want to put it up and up and up through the torso as it comes up through the center of the body. So it's like as soon as you start to engage those deep abdominal muscles as well, your rib cage starts to lift away from the pelvis. You start to find space through the torso, space through the spine. And this really will help with your practice. It will help you to find movement. It will help you to find length in the postures, help you to touch your toes, help you to lift up in downward facing dog, help you to take your pelvis back, all these things. Again, this is one of these things that when you're struggling to find your way into a posture or you're trying to focus on the breath, you'll forget about the bandhas. It happens. We all forget about the bandhas while we're practicing. It's not a problem. Just think about trying to come back to this internal focus on the breath and on the bandhas as you practice. And whenever you remember, bring your attention back. The third part of the Tristana method is the Drifty Point, and this is where you focus your gaze. And again, this is very prescribed in the Astanga method. So for instance, when we're doing the sun salutations and we reach the arms up, the directions are to gaze up towards the thumbs. And when we're doing Virabhadrasana B, Warrior B, the gaze is to look towards the fingertips. So you get these directions from your teacher. If you don't get a direction or you're not sure where to gaze, the gaze is just beyond the tip of the nose. So not completely cross-eyed, but just a little bit beyond. And the point of it is that it is an external gaze, but your focus is internal. So you're not staring at something, you are just focusing the gaze in that direction. So this prevents you from just looking around, checking things out, from drifting away from your practice. It helps you to stay focused on your practice and to bring all your attention inwards. And this will make your practice again more of a moving meditation, something to really enjoy, something that will bring you those good feelings of having really done a really nice practice, of having treated yourself to something good today. So that's a little explanation of the Tristana method in Astanga Yoga. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope it helps you with your practice, and I look forward to seeing you in the next class. Namaste.